very, very exciting. So looking at the prizes there, we got 1 Giratina, 1 Arceus, 1 Double Turbo for Sami. Not terrible. And then we've got 1 Giratina for Hunters, which does look like we've actually got a Giratina face-off coming here. We can see from the prizes that Sami is very much playing the Arceus list. I would imagine Hunter starts with Comfey.
Yep.
So I've been saying that a lot of players seem to be going for the Arceus Giratina, but no, we get to see which Giratina list is the best as Sami starts off here with a Nest Ball. We're going to be searching, and yeah, you've got to imagine it's a Giratina V. Sami puts that right to the top of his deck there. And honestly, if you can get a Giratina and then an energy on the Arceus, that ain't a bad turn one.
Yeah, and Sami's deck is very streamlined in terms of Pokemon. He's got his Arceus line, he's got a thin Giratina line, and then just has Bibarel and the new Squover from Scarlet and Violet.
That Squover's making me so happy this weekend, Joe.
Yeah, and that just allows him to filter through cards throughout the game, which is awesome to see. Really makes the most of Bibarel, which, as we know, that's a world's winning engine. It's even improving on that is exceptional to see.
We've heard it from a world champion. We've heard it from a regional champion. Play Bibarel. People are being very, very clear that that is a card we should all be playing a little bit more. Now, it does look like Sami's actually changed course, gone for a second Arceus off of that Nest Ball, really trying to make sure that he gets that early damage, that early energy acceleration. So not bad there. We do see the Bidoof going down there, which is absolutely crucial turn one. And he's got an energy in hand as well. I really like this start from Sami. You don't need the Giratina turn one because you are going to be able to put it down turn two. You're not going to use it till turn three. So having the Arceus, the energy, the Bidoof, a spare Arceus, this is a strong start from Sami.
Everything you need from an Arceus. Get your Arceus, get your attachment, and you're pretty happy with that.
Don't forget Bidoof, Joe.
Yeah, the Bidoof is obviously a big help as well. Doesn't hurt at all. As we pass over to Hunter here, who has his initial flower selecting, is getting rid of a Roxanne, which is slightly painful. He just plays 1 copy, but it's in order to get a Nest Ball to continue drawing cards in this opening stage.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against that. You need to get your Pokemon out nice and quickly. Of course, we've seen these Lost Zone decks a bunch throughout the weekend. It's really simple. Turn one, you want to be selecting a bunch of flowers with a bunch of different Comfey. So it's get multiple Comfey out, start flower selecting. The ideal situation here is probably, maybe, is there a Cramorant in the deck? Can you go turn one Cramorant here? So yeah, if you could get a double flower selecting, get your Chorus's Experiment, hit 110 onto the Arceus, and really put Sami under pressure there to essentially evolve it or get it out the active.
Hunter with a frantic deck search. What is going on? He's pulled his deck apart to see what Pokemon he's got available. But this is something you have to really do diligently with the Lost Zone decks. You've got to check your energy counts. We've got 3 different types of energy in the deck, so you can use your Greninja as well as your Sableye and Giratina, of course. And we also have to see what Pokemon are available. We've already seen the Roxanne hit the Lost Zone, so we've got to scout some other supporters as well.
Yeah, and it is worth noting, of course, as we've said, a tie is not good enough here, so we might see a bit more frantic deck searching as time goes by. We might see a bit more frantic play. This is a match in which the players need to win. Winning is everything you're going for here. You don't want to have a tie, because, we're going for an asymmetrical cut. It doesn't matter how many people. It is not a number. It is a number of championship points, not a number of people. You get 19 or more points, you're in. So you're not knocking anybody out. It is just get that win, get yourself into day 2. So sometimes you are going to see these players going that little bit faster, and it does look like Hunter here is just kind of finishing off that deck search and really figuring out exactly what's prized. And then the next few will be significantly faster now that Hunter's kind of essentially figured out what he does and doesn't have access to.
It's one of those things that's so easy to get caught up in the moment and the pressure of being on the big stage in that winning in and having the bright lights on you. But you really do have to just take a breath, take a moment to look through, because this makes every flower selecting easier. The more information you retain, and we're even seeing notes from Hunter here, the more that you're able to keep track of in terms of your discard pile and your prize cards. That's just going to inform every decision you make, and you make so many individual choices with all of your Colress and flower selectings. It's really vital to check through that deck in the opening stage.
Yeah, we've seen it before. You flower select, you throw the wrong card away because it turns out one is prized, or you have to discard one and then you're forced into Lost Only One later, and that just ends up just not working. We do see a Is it a flowers?
Concealed cards.
Ah,
yeah.
there we go.
He gets
That's
to
what
keep
he
them both. What a deal.
I know, right? That sounds pretty good. So as he switch card into a second comfey, now we got a flower selecting, only keeping one of these. Oh, and it looks like they're both energy.
Yep.
So one of them's going to have to go.
So one water's already in the discard pile, so maybe an argument to keep... Oh, it's a psychic and a grass energy.
Yeah.
Okay. It feels like the grass energy is the least valuable because that can only be used for Giratina, whereas Psychic can be used for the Sableye. But actually, that's not so true because Hunter also has a Tropius in his hand, which is a little revenge attacker. It's a one prize. I think it's typically in the deck to help out against Tyranitar with that grass weakness.
Yeah.
So it may not be coming into play in this matchup, but keeping that option open is also reasonable.
Yeah, we do see the retreat here into the Manaphy, and that's basically saying to Sami, if you're going to get an attack with the Arceus, which is absolutely possible, can you at least KO a Pokemon I don't care that much about? There's a double turbo energy. So all we need is a V-Star here, and Sami is absolutely off. Could go and get that Bibarel potentially and a Giratina V. Oh, now he does have Path Judge. This is an awkward one. Because obviously you put the path down, you judge, it hurts your opponent. But of course, you're not going to be able to use Starbirth if you hit the V-Star. There is, however, a fairly strong argument. Does Sami even need the V-Star? It'd be nice to get the Bibarel. It would be nice to get a Giratina. But do you actually need them?
I think it's one of those things where if you get the V-Star, you're just happy that you've evolved, and you don't even need the V-Star power at that stage. It's a big 4 cards. Are we going to see...
Oh, he hit it off the final card!
Wow, that is a huge judge now for Sami, because he will not only be taking a prize, but will also power up his next attacker, even with Nest Ball as well, so he could also get to work on a Giratina if he feels like it's worthwhile.
I think it is probably worthwhile. The Nest Ball is good, but hitting that Arceus off the final card of the judge, absolutely huge. The only other thing he could have wanted there was a Bibarel to evolve the Bidoof, but I don't think you can argue hitting the Nest Ball and the Arceus V-Star off of the judge is just absolutely huge. Now his opponent's got a small hand, the path to the peak is already down, and you've taken a prize. You've started powering up your Giratina, and this has put Sami right on the front foot. We're still early, there's still a lot of game to go, but that was a good start from Sami here.
I don't think Hunter's hand is great right now. The Radiant Greninja is currently shut off by the Path to the Peak, which slows him down a little bit, so he's going to need some help from flower selecting if he's going to get anything done this turn.
What does he get? He loses the Battle VIP Pass. That's an easy choice, but I believe it was a Mirage Gate, which is not going to do anything this turn. We just see a manual retreat into a second Comfey here, so we need something off of here. Oh, he hits Colress's Experiment.
Yeah, that is huge. Missed it on turn 1, finds it this time around with that second flower selecting. Will Hunter be able to put any pressure on here? He's actually holding on to one really important card in this Colress, and that's the Temple of Sinnoh, because Sami actually plays a couple copies of V-Guard Energy, and that could be a way to offset Giratina's damage later down the line. So Temple of Sinnoh might be important here, not just a bounce in the immediate term, but also hanging on to this for later could also be huge.
It would also force Sami to attach another energy in order to keep attacking with the Arceus, which could be super annoying. And yeah, that Tropius has gone straight into the Lost Zone. And Sami's like, hang on a second.
I don't blame Sami for reading this one.
No,
this one's a little bit more a little bit more obscure.
I was walking around round 1, I saw a bunch of these on the table. I had a sneaky little peek just to check I remembered what it did.
The old rally back.
Yeah. It is, and you're right, because that grass weakness is not a common one we see. We saw Ursaluna taking advantage of it earlier. We've seen Tyranitar, so it is a decent card to kind of get some cheeky damage off, but it just looks like here we're...
Lucha coming down.
Yeah, bit of damage.
Entry. It may indicate that, again, Hunter wants to just protect a Comfey if possible this turn and just leave Hawlucha in the active as another turn of fodder.
I think that might be where we're going here. We do see the escape rope coming down. Sami kind of has to put the Giratina.
Yeah, his hand has nothing else going on.
Oh, my goodness.
He has Boss's Orders, Path of the Peak, and the V-Star, which is not too handy. The good news is he could simply announce Shred next turn and it'd be a pretty okay turn. And
to be fair, with the low HP of all these Lost Box Pokemon, Shred will, forgive the pun, shred a lot of those Pokemon. So at least he's going to keep attacking. Now we see Temple of Sinnoh there. And actually, to be fair, without an energy in hand...
Yeah, it's very helpful that it's a Giratina right now.
Giratina's a better attacker right now.
Yeah, I think I like just staying as the V and using Shred because there's such a detriment to having to Lost Zone your energy with that V-Star. Sami definitely going to consider whether it's worth gaining a ton of hit points in this instance. He could simply bounce the stadium and then use the double turbo to pay for the lost impact, but it does feel a little overkill right now.
Yeah, of course, with Temple of Sinnoh down, that has turned back on the abilities. So we see a Starbirth coming down here from Arceus. Sammy's going to get any 2 cards he likes on the deck. And I kind of love this, because you can either get any 2 cards you like and start rolling, or you can get any 1 card you like and grab a Path to the Peak to kind of get your stadium established again, turn off that Greninja, and we've not seen that much from Hunter here. Hunter has not got a great board established yet at all. There's no real attacking threats coming down. So that could be kind of a nice way. Get any card you want, get the Path to the Peak, re-establish it. You've got to imagine one of these cards is bumping Temple of Sinnoh, but no.
Already has the path in hand.
Oh,
so
he does.
That's
so
all good, yeah.
We've got to
see the escape rope, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, it's a Bibarel. I was one of them, and it might be a Judge, was the other.
He's just going to keep slamming that Judge. That is the name of the game with Arceus these days. Hunter going to say goodbye to his Radiant Greninja by the looks of things.
Oh, I like this. Just Sami, and then he gets the Giratina V-Star, get those extra hit points. Now you're attacking with Arceus. It's much less of an issue. We do see Path to the Peak coming down with a Judge. Path Judge is a combo we've seen a lot today. It's a combo I think we're going to see a lot for a while, Joe.
Yep, it is just good. It always just puts people in that pressure point position where, hey, sometimes you just draw a bit of a dud off those 4 cards, plus draw for turn. And even with flower selectings, we know that Hunter has had a slow start. Still no Giratina of his own in sight. So he has a lot of work to do if he wants to really start catching up in this prize race, because he's already going to be a couple down here.
No, I think he's got 8 cards in the Lost Zone there?
It's 6.
6, it is 6. Was there?
They're kind of bunched up a little bit right now.
Okay, right. Well, there are 6 there then, so he's very close to being able to use Mirage Gate. So, yeah, this is getting interesting pretty quickly here. Sami is getting off to a fast start and starting to kind of really take those prizes. And it's not just that Sami's taking the prizes. Hunter doesn't have much.
Oh, it's Squovit. It's finally time.
Yeah.
There are risks to Squovit in Lost Zone matchups because it has vulnerable hit points and can be picked off quite quickly with Sableye, whilst also sprinkling damage counters onto other Pokemon.
Yep.
But it gives you such big upside with your Industrious Incisors as a really nice combo.
Yeah, the combination of them is just, you know, the Squirrel and the Badger just work. Squirrel and the Beaver, sorry, working so nicely together, and it's just, it's
the woodland
wonderful.
critters hanging out.
Woodland critters helping each other out. Lovely.
It is going to be a knockout for Sami then, as well as powering up his Arceus V, and we will see a flower selecting now. The Battle VIP pass is an easy choice. We're going to see Hunter spread it out for us, so that's an easy little look there. We have 7 now in the Lost Zone for Hunter with that VIP pass, hitting the Lost Zone with flower selecting. What are we looking at from this Judge here, Ross? Not too much. At least we see a Giratina. Is it going to be an attached retreat and spit innocently here?
I think that's probably what you want to go for. I mean, now that we've got 7 in the Lost Zone, we can start working towards a Mirage Gate and actually start getting a Giratina going. But you need the Mirage Gate and you need a turn to evolve up into the V-Star. So no real danger here. And yeah, the problem with Spit Innocently is Giratina's just doing nice one-hit KOs. So that Spit Innocently isn't always doing quite as much as you like, because kind of the whole point here is that Giratina V-Star KOs Giratina or KOs Arceus. So this 110 might not end up being that relevant in the scheme of things. You need to find a way to finish it off. And, I mean, is there a natural second hit that KOs it here? Sableye doesn't do it. Cramorant doesn't do it.
No, we don't see that Snorlax. That would be the sort of in-between
That
single
would work.
prize Pokemon, but we're not seeing it in Hunter's list. So the damage is somewhat relevant, but it still may need to be mopped up with the V.
Oh,
and wow.
I love this. Sorry to cut you off there, Joe, but we got a boss's orders onto the Giratina, a switch into the Giratina V-Star, and I just told you Giratina will KO Giratina. It's not even the V-Star, actually. It's just the V. I love this from Sami, because now Hunter is still 2 turns away from getting a Giratina V-Star.
Yeah, and it really puts a lot of pressure. And yeah, Hunter's
Too much
done.
pressure.
Too much pressure. It would mean that, you know, he's having to dodge boss's orders again. And when there's Bibarel and Squovit's down, you just feel like it's an inevitability that there would have been another gust there at any point.
Absolutely.
And Hunter was too far behind in those prize races. He wasn't getting enough done with that one little Cramorant, unfortunately. So he's going to give himself another chance here. It is, of course, a best of 3, so giving himself plenty of time to win 2 on the bounce here. He's still got a good chance of making it into day 2.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes you see these games, and if you're Hunter, one of the best things you can sit there and think is, that wasn't on me.
Right.
Sami had a great start. Sami got what he needed. Sami managed to shut me down with Judge and Path. My deck did not fire like I wanted it to. I could not get rolling. And that's sometimes better. If you lose a game just because your deck does not match up against your opponents and you get rolled, you go into game 2 just being like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do in this matchup. But sometimes if you just, you don't get rolling, it's actually a little bit nicer because you can sit there and go, that wasn't on me. I can't feel bad about that. This game has got to be better. Let's go and have a better game too.
Yeah, and I feel like the Giratina does have plenty of ways of beating out the Arceus, just with more aggression, just with, faster energy acceleration from Mirage Gate. You can put a lot of burst pressure on. You have that V-Star power that can get through opposing V-Stars, even if there are V-Guards on the board for Sami. So we know that Hunter can get involved early on in the game and get some pressure hits in with single prizes as well, but it all comes down to having a better start. We've seen so often that missing those early chorus and missing those Battle VIP pass just spell really bad news for Lost Zone. So let's see how his opening hand treats him this time around.
I mean, the way I see the matchup is you've basically got consistency against burst potential. The Arceus Giratina, it works so much more often. I think that's why so many people have gone to it. But what Sami's deck can't do, but Hunter's can, is basically just go, I get like double Mirage Gate. Hey, boom, I'm completely set up out of nowhere.
Yeah, and you just cannot slow down a Giratina in that state where you're just dealing so much damage. Sami even showing the crowd what is going on here. He's having a good time here at the EUIC in this final round. And Hunter, I believe, has a Battle VIP pass start. Not too shabby.
Oh, you love to see the turn 1 Battle VIP pass. Getting any of those 2 basics, popping them down onto the bench, that is always a good shout. So it's what you want to see. And Battle VIP Pass is a weird card. It literally only works on your first turn. Other than that, it's just an unplayable card. The best you can hope for is lost zoning or discarding it. But it's so good on your first turn, being able to grab any 2 cards. It still sees a bunch of play.
Yeah, as we've learned, the upside is just so huge for almost every deck in the formats that you just take the grain of salt when you don't hit those Battle VIP pass. You just think, well, I have Colrus and I have Comfey anyway. I can kind of get rid of these for free at the very least. So I have so much filtering already in my deck that the highs of Battle VIP pass are just so worth it when they come off. And straight away, we are seeing it now. It's going to allow Hunter to get well established. But once again, he's looking through those prize cards, checking out the energy, checking out his Pokemon, as well as everything else in the deck, which, again, you've got to applaud it, got to say, got to keep calm here. You can't afford another mistake at any point at this stage. You've got to make sure you're doing the utmost to keep yourself in this game.
No, it's very, very important. It's just, can you get rolling, essentially? Can you actually get, can you get started here? And it's a looks like a bit of a better start. That Comfey turn 1, your turn 1 Battle VIP pass, that is pretty big.
And just a few more notes being taken, but I got to assume it's going to be more Comfey and Greninja. Actually, Greninja, I think, is in the prize card, so it may just be, it's going to be just more flower selectings, most likely. Maybe even developing early Giratina V is also a consideration, because you want to get out of range of early Arceus pressure, if you can.
Yeah.
So that's also a possibility. I think there's already one Giratina V in Hunter's hand, though, so he's got absolutely everything he needs. It may even just be a double Comfey here, and just try and zoom up those Lost Zone counters as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and the more you get in the Lost Zone, you've got those key numbers. 4 in the Lost Zone, that activates your Spit innocently on your Cramorant. 7 in your Lost Zone activates your Mirage Gate, and then 10 in your Lost Zone activates that Sableye to just to stop damage counters. It's really big, getting them there nice and early, going first, getting a couple of Comfey nice and early doors, and then hopefully building towards more Comfey and your Chorus's Experiment, turn 2. 7 in the Lost Zone turn 2 is it's not undoable.
Yeah, in this case, where there are no Lost Vacuum, it just requires a ton of Flower Selects. So we'd have to see a number of them this turn, as well as a combination of Escape Rope, Switch, and Switch Cart to help us get to 7. Hunter has so many Pokemon available to him, he may just forego the second VIP. But no, he is going to go for one more Battle VIP pass, just to continue thinning out here. This could be the Comfey, and maybe the second Giratina coming on the board straight away. Yeah, it sure is. So there's another Giratina in hand for Hunter, so he can completely fill his board in those opening stages and hopefully get some more selects in.
Yeah, that's what you're looking for, and it's just night and day with Game 1. Game 1, Hunter was kind of, the odd flower selecting here and there. We saw Cramorant in the final turn doing 110 and really not getting much going here, whereas here, everything is just so completely different, kind of getting that that threat established, and now we can start, potentially getting an earlier Mirage Gate. And, what we're on turn 1, you can't even use supporter, and there's...
Still getting to 3, looking pretty good.
And 3 is huge, because 2 Comfey a turn is pretty doable.
Yep.
So 2 Comfey, plus your Chorus's Experiment, you get your free turn 1, there's your 7, then
Yep.
Mirage Gate is on, your Giratina's down this turn, so you can evolve it next turn. It's not outside the realms of possibility that we could see a turn 2 Giratina just rolling for Hunter here.
This is exceptional for Hunter. Pretty much everything you could hope for. A little unfortunate to get rid of a couple of energy, but you can afford it. You have energy recyclers, and you play a total of 12 basic energy, so you can get away with this. And Sami has nothing. He just has to profess his research here to get anything going. Looks like Arceus, with the energy attachment, is going to be huge here to keep Sami up in this one. And it's just going to be a pass over. In the end, the research has done him well, as we will see Hunter kick off with the Chorus Experiment to help him back on his way to 7. It should be a pretty easy route now.
Yeah, it's so good. Sami hasn't had a bad turn 1. You've got a couple of Bidoof down ready to evolve. You've got your Arceus with your energy, which is what you need. But the problem is, if you go second and your opponent has a turn 1 like Hunter's had, you are playing the slower deck. You are playing the consistent deck that hasn't got that burst potential, and the problem is, if you then face off against a deck which has got the burst potential and then starts using it, that just can be a very scary proposition. So it looks like we're up to 5. There's going to be at least 1 from the Flower selecting in the active, so you need a couple of pivot, Mirage Gate, Giratina, V-Star. It's not easy, but it's absolutely possible. The one thing Sami's got is he's got kind of a spare Bidoof in the active, so at least at the moment he's not giving up a particularly important prize.
Yeah, only giving up 1 is at least a small help for you. The only issue is that then Bibarel can be picked off later quite easily with just 1 Sableye turn, so it is still very relevant for Hunter to take a single prize knockout this turn if he's able to.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to happen throughout the game, but at least it's not going to,
Double grass energy, that's easy.
Yeah.
The grimace. The grimace from Hunter. It's an easy choice, but it's not one you like to see.
No, it's like earlier we saw somebody hitting double Chorus's Experiment, and, the Chorus Experiment goes down super early, but here we go. I wonder what Sami's going to choose here, Joe.
I think it's actually a decision, to be honest.
There is, to be fair, there is.
There's obviously just the next Bidoof is the easy choice, and just say, well, this has made no difference to my board. But I think there's genuine arguments to just bringing up an Arceus here, knowing that you could V-Star out of like another Spit Innocently range.
Yeah, and to be fair, denying your opponent a prize will be quite good. Now, we do see a Giratina V-Star. We've got the attachment for the turn. We don't have a Mirage Gate, but we do have a Spit Innocently, taking that first KO on that Bidoof. So Hunter starts the prize race in Game 2. And, I mean, it's not looking too bad for Sami here. You can potentially get your Arceus V-Star rolling, get some energy accelerated. The problem is, I think Hunter's going to be able to take the first 2 prize KO, and that could end up being a problem.
And is one of the biggest strengths possible for Arceus, for Giratina decks, that you can just burst through these V-Stars. Although we do have Sami with basic energy in his discard pile, he could Starbirth for Raihan and then attach a V-Guard energy as well. That could be a way to protect him this turn.
I mean, that would be a very, very good play. We've, the last game I did with Kyle, we had so many cards that added and took away down. Oh, I'm not going to joke with you. That was a nightmare, trying to figure out how the damage was working. And then you got the Gardevoir, but not if Path of the Peak's in play. That is not the game we're in here. Here it's quite
left,
simple.
You're looking right, you're looking left, you're looking right.
It was not an easy one, Joe. And I challenge anyone at home to try and follow along while talking about the game. But here it's nice and easy. We don't have all these different mods. Giratina does 280, Arceus has 280, so yeah, that V-Guard energy reducing 30 will work very nicely indeed. The question, and we actually see Sami's seen the same thing you have.
I think he's eyeing it up, yeah. There's definitely still a debate whether or not simply just using double turbo energy and Judge is better. It's kind of close, I think. But if you're trying to keep your Arceus V-Star around for as long as possible, this is probably the best defensive line you can take.
Yeah, and that does it. We've got the V-Guard energy. No, we're changing our mind.
He can always choose a third card from the right hand itself, so
of course.
I think that's also the debate here.
Yeah, and that's one of the cool things about Raihan. It actually gets you that third card. So you're using your supporter, but you're searching any free cards while getting an extra energy attachment. So, yeah, Raihan, very good card.
One with Starbirth and you get one free, bought back by the Raihan itself.
Get two, get one free.
It definitely is a debate here. I really see benefits to just a judge path, spin the wheel, like we've seen so often. But I also see big merits to simply saying, I'm going to make this more difficult for Hunter this turn. And we actually know that Temple of Sinnoh is in the prize cards for Hunter, so it would literally force a 10-card loss zone next turn.
It would, but yeah, it's
That's still possible. That's the issue, right? With Hunter at 6, he's actually in touching distance with just a Chorus and a few Flower Selectings.
Yeah.
So it's close here.
And that's one of the differences between these decks, of course. You know, we mentioned earlier, these Arceus decks, they're giving up the V-Star power on Giratina. Realistically, you're never getting 10 cards in the Lost Zone. But with the Comfey list, you are. And it's not just 10 cards to activate Sableye, it's 10 cards to activate Giratina. But it does, it looks like we are going for the right hand here. So essentially the question is, can Hunter get 4 more cards into the Lost Zone? And it's not going to be that difficult. You only need 2 Comfey and a Chorus's Experiment, and you're not using Judge because you're using Raihan. So this is a very interesting one for both players, really. Whether this sticks is going to go a long way to determining this game.
And a nice little play here from Sami, choosing to Raihan the Nest Ball rather than the physical copy of the Giratina, because he doesn't want to draw into Nest Ball now. He's got enough basics. That's all he needs. It's a nice little way to get an extra card removed from the deck here. But we will see a turn attachment of V-Guard Energy, no doubt, this turn, and he will get to work on some of his other benched Vs now.
Yeah, and of course, one of the cool things about Arceus, not only are you taking KOs by doing 200 damage, you're also accelerating some energy onto your bench, setting up your attackers for future, and you kind of have to get your Giratina going here, because one potential option for Sami is, if you get KO'd by Giratina, then you Giratina right back with a Judge Path and just go, I really hope you don't have an answer to my Giratina.
That would be huge. So a few really big plays available to Hunter this turn. If Hunter is able to gust Sami's Giratina V, that would obviously be huge.
Yep.
Or if we could get to 10 in the Lost Zone, which it looks like straight away we're seeing Chorus. So we're digging for the 10-card Lost Zone here to knock out the Arceus via the V-Star power.
And it's really, and we do have Mirage Gate, which is obviously, you know, a good thing to get that energy. But with Comfey in the active, we're guaranteed 9. 9 isn't even a question. All we really need, especially now we've hit the Mirage Gate, 2 pivots. Yep. 1 pivot into a Comfey to Flower Select, 1 pivot into Giratina, which could even be gotten from the Comfey Flower Selecting. And then that's it. Then we get the KO with the V-Star power. So, and this is the debate you were talking about. There were 2 different routes. Either of them could have ended up being right. It's kind of impossible to know. You've just got to see which one you think is more likely to be good and then cross your fingers.
Checking out Hunter's hand, he's drawn so many of his energy and had to Lost Zone so many. This Mirage Gate may not have great value. It looks like there's water energy remaining in here.
Just one basic water.
Energy. It's going to go on to your Giratina V-Star. The water's not fantastic for you, to be honest. If you're already eyeing up the V-Star power, there are risks with this, because you could end up just losing this water energy next turn if Sami comes straight back with his own Giratina V-Star.
Yeah, because like, the Psychic Grass is V-Star power, isn't it? So that water's only going to be good next turn if you're attacking with the other Giratina attack. So we do have the Grass in hand, so there's no question about having the energy for the attack.
Yeah.
But it's more just, have you potentially gotten an energy which could have gone onto another Pokemon instead?
We do have switch carts at the very least. That's going to be 1 more Flower Selecting to get us to that 10, which we do need for the Star Requiem.
See, but that's the thing. You need the energy attachment onto the Giratina to use the V-Star power, which means you can no longer manually attach and retreat out of a second Comfey because you've used your attachment for the turn. So
this is a really big Flower Selecting.
Yeah.
Can we see an additional switch card here?
There's
nothing else going on in Hunter's hand. He needs this to be a pivot option.
What have we got? What have we got? It's a Mirage Gate, but there's no energy in deck.
Hits the switch.
Oh, and a switch. Yeah, switch will help.
I know. It's that cheeky old Diamond and Pearl artwork of switch in there. But here we go. It could be the 10-card Lost Zone. I think we're there.
Yeah, we're exactly 10, so that is going to be... And, you know, we've seen a bunch of Giratina so far. The one thing we have not seen is the V-Star power. So that is an automatic KO on, like, anything, basically. With Big Parasol having rotated, it really is a phenomenal attack. So that's going to get rid of the Arceus. Now the question for Sami is, can he respond, and then can Hunter respond? And I suppose round and round we go. We've got the energy from Sami, but I don't think we've got the V-Star yet.
Yeah, I think it's just peeking in his hand. The only issue is you can't easily chain Lost Impact now that your Arceus has gone down. You've just lost a ton of energy with that big knockout from Hunter. So sure, you can impact through this one, but then Hunter's staring you down with another V-Star, and then you'll just have nothing left in really to attack with. So Hunter's got a pretty easy map here, even if Sami is able to take a response KO.
Yeah, I mean, there was an option there with an Arceus with an energy. There was a V-Star and a double turbo, which he just Ultra Balled away.
Yep.
It would essentially be attack with a Giratina, and then you have to go back to attacking with your Arceus and then kind of building up that way. It's an awkward way around. It would potentially have worked, but Sami just goes, no, I need the Bidoof. I need to be able to get extra cards here. Squirvit goes down onto the bench as well. There is the judge.
This is huge.
This could be absolutely huge.
Yeah, the judge is essential because you're fully aware that if your Giratina goes down, that's pretty much your game done. You need this Giratina to stick around on the board. You need to get rid of the grass energy on your Arceus and get rid of the Psychic on your Giratina. So then the following turn, you could still do another Lost Impact. That's pretty much what has to happen unless Sami can get back into an Arceus in some way, shape or form. But that seems like a tall order. So he's going to have to try and disrupt Hunter and allow this Giratina to stay on the board for a turn.
Yeah, unfortunately, that seems to be
so pretty good.
We've got so we got a path and a boss's orders in hand for Sami. That's not too bad. That could be very good.
Judge and path, you know, a classic combo. Still helpful to get rid of this Greninja as a draw out for Hunter.
Absolutely.
We've already seen your own V-Star power, and that's the only card that's affected by your own Path of the Peak. That's why it's such a big combination with Arceus.
Yeah, I mean, the V-Star, using your V-Star power to go and get Path to the Peak to then turn off other abilities it's a little bit cheeky, but it's one we see a lot. So now, taking advantage, actually, of Giratina, being able to loss zone the energy from anywhere, not necessarily from Giratina itself. So that means that Sami can get an attack next turn, and it's only then that we start running into problems.
Oh boy, though, I think Hunter already has access to Mirage Gates, and I think he also has Grass Energy already in hand. And I think he's just picked up a Colress as well.
He did just pick up a Chorus as well, so this is looking very good for Hunter. I think we might be going to one game each here.
It really depends on how many energy remain in the deck for Hunter. He may be looking for Energy Recycler. That might be a missing piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's had so many energy, but the judge did put a bunch of energy back into the deck. So
I just don't think it was Psychic Energy. I think he's got Psychic Energy in the discard pile and the loss zone. I think that's the one thing that's making life a little bit awkward, unless I'm creating imaginary hurdles here just for suspense.
We don't want any imaginary hurdles.
I feel like there would have been a Mirage Gate before this Chorus if he had all the right Psychic Energy available. It just makes sense to have Mirage Gated before this Chorus.
Yeah, no, I get that, because then there's more energy left in the deck, so your outs from the Mirage Gate are that little bit higher, and we are getting down to it now. We've got 17 minutes remaining, so there is time for a game 3. It does seem like Hunter is really on the front foot here, but Sami is going to go first in a potential game 3, and that could be big. So I think especially when you need to win the game, there does come a point where you go, even though I've not lost this game, I want enough time for a game 3. And with the deck I'm playing, I feel good going first in game 3. So this is going to be an interesting one, but I don't think we've got that much long in the game. I think one of these players is going to win in the next couple of turns.
And I think I've just scouted the loss, and I think all the Psych Energy are accounted for, which means we're going to have to go digging with some flower selectings if we are going to find this Energy Recycler. This is the big piece that we're missing for Hunter. The concealed cards doesn't help. The Beach Court bounces the Path of the Peak in order to access that. He does have more pivot outs, but it looks like it's going to be more painful flower selects to try and get there.
And Sami does have Boss's orders in hand.
Yep.
And Boss's orders onto the Giratina would be absolutely huge. He is an energy away at the moment from being able to get the KO, but obviously, you know, we've got Bidoof there, sorry, the Bibarel, which can go a little bit lower, and that Squirvit is huge here, because if you don't, you know, you can basically see the maximum number of cards, because it's not just that you get a brand new hand, the cards you have go on the bottom of the deck, which means you're not going to draw into them. So the Squirvit Bidoof Bibarel combination here is so huge, because you've got a bunch of non-energy in your hand, whack them on the bottom of your deck, draw a bunch of other cards, and cross your fingers that they are, in fact, not energy, they are energy.
Correct. So that's looking pretty good. Sami can also thin some V Pokemon here. I think because Hunter is at 3 prize cards, it makes sense to just thin any of these Vs and put them into play at this stage.
Yeah.
Because you already have such vulnerable targets for Sableye. You just want to thin these. I think there's only 2 basic energy remaining in Sami's deck, so it's still a little bit tricky. It will require the full power of Squovit Bibarel, I think.
And that's the thing, Square is one of those cards, you first see it and you're like, oh, you're giving it your entire hand for 1 card, that's not great. And in a way, yes, but when you combine it with something like Bibarel where, you know, the card, and the fact the card's gone on the bottom of your deck rather than shuffled in is so big here, because it means that you then get to draw brand new cards. So I'm imagining here we're going to see, we see an escape rope first.
Yeah, I think there's also Switch in Sami's hand, potentially.
Yeah, just thinning out, because we know we're going to see the boss's orders onto the Giratina. That has to be the play.
Well, he can take advantage of the beach court right here with the 1 retreat cost of Squovit. This is why Sami is one of the best players around. He's taking note of every single card being played, even by the opponents, seeing how that can be advantageous to him.
Yeah, I kind of love this, and it's. I think it is just going to have to be boss's orders onto the Giratina, and then use your Squovit, and just you hope you hit an energy. If you hit that energy, you know, with Psychic Energy not really being available, maybe you can get a Cramorant rolling, but is there even any Cramorant really left? I know one's in the Lost Zone, clearly.
Yeah, I think there's possibly Clara knocking around in the deck list as well to reload some of these single prize Pokemon.
I think that's basically what I'm getting at. Like, that's really your option. And the problem is, if you're reloading these single prize Pokemon, sure, it's going to take Sami probably 2 turns to get enough energy on the Giratina to attack again and finish out the game, but he's going to have time to do that.
So Sami not going for the boss's orders, instead going to nest Stash and then top up with Bibarel. So I think Sami's just hoping that it's more difficult for Hunter to close out the game here instead.
I like the double turbo there, because that is, of course, 2 energy to... Is it 2 energy or 2 energy cards on Giratina?
Well, the issue is, if you attach it to your Giratina, it would reduce your damage output as well, so you wouldn't be able to knock out the opposing V-Star.
Indeed, but here, I mean, essentially, because you've already used your, you know, if you're not having your boss's orders, what you could potentially do here is just use a double turbo to KO a Comfey, and then essentially you just need a basic energy boss next turn to take, because you need the 3rd prize anyway. I'm not saying it's a great use of resources. I'm saying if you've got to get to 3 prizes and you're not going to use boss's orders this turn, it is an option.
I think Sami's going for a longer game approach here, where he's spreading his threats out. He can get an attack in with Arceus, sure, not taking any prize cards, but hoping that once again, trusty Path Judge gives him that little bit of time to construct a more concrete game plan with this Arceus taking 1 knockout, and then the Giratina will close the game.
Absolutely, and that's why you don't boss's orders. So Tammy is basically going, I don't want to be playing around with boss's orders, and then I don't have enough energy, and then I'm manually attaching and crossing my fingers.
Yeah.
Let's just do this a little bit slower. Let's get the threats established, guarantee it, and then I can use my boss's orders later, because I've still got my Squovit, I've still got my Bibarel, I've got ways to be drawing cards. And we do see here, you know, getting some energy with the Arceus.
Yeah.
And actually, now could potentially stream a couple of Giratina attacks if you so wish.
Yeah, I think the plan is throw 1 onto the active and 1 onto the Giratina.
I would say so, yeah.
Because that's the remainder of your energy, I believe, apart from possibly some more double turbo. I think Hunter's already drawn before this selection, so we need to just make sure where Sami wants to put this grass. I feel like it's actually best on the active position.
I think I agree.
Because you know Hunter, I suppose, can afford to Lost Impact through the active, because he could still look towards a Sableye to close out the game. But I feel like you need to give yourself enough attackers physically to see your way through. And Sami is running a little short.
Yeah, it's a very... So it does go on to the Giratina. Now, Hunter's going for Nest Ball here. So Hunter, that was a very definitive, I think I know what I'm doing here. So we get the Sableye straight away. Now, you think all the Psychic is accounted for, so does he have a way to get it back?
We got to try and find that Energy Recycler. That's the big card here, once again, I think.
So we do see a flower selecting. It's
Hisuian is pretty useless.
It's
Looks
a switch.
good for a switch. We can go again. He's got a few reloads here. It does have Clara and Colress available, so it was a fairly kind judge.
We do see the escape rope coming down.
Yeah.
You don't really want to give any of these up. I mean, I'd be tempted to even go Arceus V here, because your opponent's got to take 2 KOs anyway, and every other card on the board is potentially giving you a lot of value in future turns. Yeah.
You're not that afraid of Roxanne either because you have that big barrel. But I suppose if you're worried about your the Sableye knocking out the barrel, you would lose your draw engine. So if you did get like Roxanne into a Sableye KO, then your Arceus could get stranded. It's instead going to be the big barrel itself here.
Yeah, I don't mind that again because the potential of having your Arceus stranded. So here, if they're going to go after the Bibarel, at least they're going to have to, let you get something else in the active.
Yeah.
This is really coming down to it, and it's going to be a really awkward one. But having said that, there is a potential.
There it is, straight away. Energy Recycler, give me that. I've been looking for you all game. This is a game changer, I think. Of course, we're not going to see a Gust play here, so it probably is still going to be a Sableye knockout, because it's just a one-prize Pokemon. But possibly even just knocking out the Squovit and setting up damage across the board could be even better for a Hunter. It would force Sami to have that switch. We know it's in hand, but it at least forces that play.
No, absolutely. And if you're Sami here, you now kind of want to get rid of the Sableye and you want to get rid of the Giratina. Yeah, I mean, the good news is trying to take free prizes with that Sableye is going to take a couple of turns for Hunter. So I still think if you can just get rid of that Giratina, get rid of the big threat, and it seems like Sami can attack 2 turns in a row with Giratina now. So that's going to be good. The question is...
Quite good, yeah.
I've heard good things. The question is, are you going to be able to attack twice in a row in a way that stops Hunter winning the game?
I think you have to Lost Mine just everything on Big Barrel here. Just stop the draw is the best play, because you're still trying to avoid boss's orders for your sort of prize map to work out for you here.
Yeah, because...
And Sami is holding on to Serena and Switch, so if the Big Barrel is not taken down... well, I mean, Sami still already has a really good hand. I think he's already got everything he needs in this hand.
He probably does. I mean, I think you're right. You're going after free prizes. So you get the barrel here, and then hopefully your Giratina survives. Giratina takes out Giratina or Arceus. Boom, there's your free prizes. You are good to go. Sami has to get the Giratina here, but we know he's got the Serena in hand, and Serena will gust up that Giratina
this is
quite
looking
nicely.
Very good for Sami. He can even just use the double turbo energy to pay for this Lost Impact. I feel like you have to be slamming the Serena.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is huge, and I think Hunter knows that he's in a pretty bad position now. Big Serena for Sami.
Yeah, so we do see an Ultra Ball coming down here, trying to get something established. I mean, losing that Bibarel kind of sucks, but we do have the Arceus coming down here, and I think this is just a little bit of extra bulk. I don't think you're ever really going to be using this, but...
I think, honestly, Sami's sat on the perfect hand. He just needs Switch to stay in his hand. So happy enough to use the Ultra Ball, and then he will take 2 prize cards. Giratina knocking out Giratina. How does Hunter respond to this? He's going to have to try and trap an Arceus, perhaps, but again, we know that Sami has the answer. It's going to have to be a rope into Roxanne play. I think that's the only Hail Mary that Hunter has left.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right here. That Giratina will take out anything. Sami's down to 1 prize remaining. Hunter does not have a way to take out this Giratina. So, and we do see the Roxanne. So
here we go. I think we've got the play lined up. I think we're going for rope anything out. Well, basically push the Giratina out the way.
Yeah.
And go for the Roxanne and Lost Mine onto an Arceus V. That's got to be the play here.
Yeah, I agree entirely. And then, and essentially that gives Sami 1 turn to try and get something, or else the Sableye will...
It's also really intelligent. It also shows that Sami's keeping this in mind, because he didn't even evolve V-Star last turn, because that could actually also ruin Hunter's game plan of Lost Mining down 1 Arceus over 2 turns.
Yeah, because of course, it's 220, so Lost Mine dropping 12 damage counters will 2-hit KO.
Does Hunter have enough cards in hand and deck to actually perform this Roxanne? He's only got 3 cards left in the deck, and I'm not sure how many cards in his hand.
I mean, you'd like to think so, or else this would be...
No,
so, he's actually got boss's orders on the Arceus, not Roxanne. And that's a bit of a problem, because we know Sami's got the Switch in hand. There is the Switch. And Sami takes it 2 games to 0 and books his space into day 2 in a very thrilling back-and-forth game.
Congratulations to Sami. Really impressive stuff. What do you expect from Sami Sekkoum? Really nice that he sort of put the brakes on, knew that he didn't have enough resources to just carry on chaining this Lost Impact, so turned it into a bit of a cat and mouse. I can throw my Judge. I know I have that better draw engine to fall back on with my Bibarel and Squovit, that I can be the one in control of that boss's orders. Exceptional play from Sami.
Yeah, that was really, really good. There was a point where he could potentially have overextended, but then you would have been left manually attaching to your
Yeah.
Giratina and kind of hoping your opponent doesn't get too much. Sami did not fall for that. It was a much better play of, you know what, I'm just going to take it back a little bit. And there were openings, you know. Hunter had opportunities there where with just a couple of extra cards could potentially have gone and hunted down. And that was awkward because there was a point there. If Hunter had pulled out that second game, I think we end up with a tie and both players are eliminated from day 2.
Yeah.
So if you're Sami, you've got to be thinking, I want time for a game 3. But I think we got maybe halfway through that game and it really could have gone either way. So it's awkward, but clearly Sami made all the right decisions there and